in the nice text I sent you earlier yesterday. Don't ask me why. On my train ride home, I'm like, let me throw this on, because like the Facebook thing pops up for the thing. I'm like, oh God, I watch it. I'm like, oh.
All right, so I'm walking out the door for this meeting and I see the Milton Times lands.
Oh,
and the
yeah,
front
right, front
page
page
is an
and
article
on the
about it,
back.
which I haven't read, but.
What?
It's not too bad.
You?
Not too bad.
I mean, about the MPIC?
Yeah.
They're like,
They're planning board member, other
But
planning
we're
board
being
members are
recorded.
all
We're being recorded, by
upset.
the way.
We're being recorded.
We're being recorded,
Okay.
because when Nick set this up, he set the record button already, so.
He's very experienced, he knows the scuttlebutt that happens before a meeting.
yeah.
He wanted to capture that.
No, I-
They usually.
He was
Milton
helping me
Access
out.
anyway.
Anyways.
Milton Access usually, it's just the part that's
When you go, yes.
All right, so let's call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody, I am Tom Callahan, the chair of the Preservation Committee, and representing the Affordable Housing Trust.
Peter Jackson, I'm that large member, and I act as treasurer, I guess.
Jenny Russell, vice chair and a citizen at large.
Cheryl Tagayas, representative from the planning board.
Rob Levash, representative from the Parks.
Kathleen O'Donnell, at-large member.
All right, just committee updates, a couple of things. First of all, I apologize for I just had a very busy work season, so I want to thank Jenny and Pete particularly for stepping in the last couple of weeks in my absence. I appreciate that. And fortunately that work is over and successful, and we're past that. So I'm back, even though I never left. So a couple of committee updates, just to get it on everybody's calendars. Our next two meetings are Monday, this coming Monday, the 20th, at 7 p.m. And Pete was saying earlier, it's going to be at our usual meeting place in the Cronin conference room in Town Hall.
So Tom, I have a work public meeting that lasts until 7:30. So I'll join that's on Zoom,
Okay,
and I'll join as soon as, sometimes they don't
Okay.
run until
Yep.
full
Okay.
time period, but I'll hop on as soon as. A project that we've been working on a very long time is finally getting over getting there. So yeah, I'll join as soon as I can, but it won't be, I doubt it will be 7 o'clock.
And I'll be in Miami, but I will try to join at some point.
okay.
Yeah.
Second meeting?
I'm just
November
okay,
5th.
because the Zoom, this laptop just got disconnected from Zoom.
Oh, no.
Oh. We're on Zoom, kind of Zoom.
Well, Tom, wait, let me see.
That's just.
Oh, did it come back?
It's circling, it's connecting, it says. I don't know why.
Yeah, we had a meeting on the 5th, didn't we?
Yeah, the next meeting.
November 5th.
November 5th.
Yeah, which I won't be at.
So.
I'd like to try to
So
reserve this room
we're
if we
back.
can.
We're back.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can reserve this room.
Okay, so anyways, those are the two next meetings, October 20th and November 5th. So who's not able to make November? You,
I have another annual meeting in Boston.
and is everybody else?
I'm good for the
I'll be
5th.
fine.
Because that was slated to probably be our deliberation meeting.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I can send you notes on.
yeah, and we
Your
probably,
thoughts, yeah.
like last time, won't make, I mean, we could, I don't know, we might, notes would be good, yeah.
Okay.
And hopefully Rob Powers will be sworn in and active by that time.
Yeah, so we have a new member representing the Housing Authority, Robert Powers Jr. Has agreed to serve fill the Housing Authority seat, replacing Joe Duffy. So I have had email communications with him in the past week or so, and he could not make tonight, but he is planning on being here Monday. So I think he needs to get sworn in, but that will hopefully get that done and he can participate as a full member. And then the other committee update is that Linda Weld has resigned from the committee. I think she's resigned her seat on the Historic Commission, I believe. So I'll write something more formal to Linda, but obviously we want to thank her for her 3 years of service. I've learned a lot from her, and she's been a really great and consistent and valuable committee member. So thank you, Linda.
I have a question, but on the
Yes.
next meeting, will we have a list of what we would be deliberating on, the list of the applications?
Yeah, so Jenny has done a spreadsheet
Okay.
of all of them, and obviously we're gonna hear some presentations tonight
Yes.
and then
Mhm.
again on Monday. But that's,
And they're all in our shared folders, all the
Oh, yeah, a
applications.
place that I can never figure out how to get to, right.
I can send you
Is
the
that on the
spreadsheet.
SharePoint?
The only other sort of committee updates that I would just let people know is we're obviously currently without staff, and I talked to Nick this afternoon, so we have a new town planner, as I think folks know. I think there's some progress on hiring an assistant town planner, and there's progress, but on hiring an administrative assistant for that position, but I think expected progress soon on that. So right now, we're without formal staff, but I think there's some wheels in motion to try to sort of address that in the coming weeks and months. So there's more to come on that, but I wanna just
To assume that that person would be
not necessarily, we could also,
choose to move
choose to,
independently.
yeah. Exactly, but I think it's up, we have a budget, as we know, and we could,
It's good to couple it with the,
there was some
Thinking about
advantages to
that.
us to couple it with the administrative person at the planning department. And maybe even more so now because of the new planning town planner is somebody who, among her duties in Braintree, before she came to Milton, was the CPA manager
Mhm.
of Braintree's CPA
Oh,
program. So she's very familiar with CPA, obviously. I have not met her yet, but I think that the interaction and the advantages we get of having somebody from the planning department doesn't mean we have to go that route, but I think there are some advantages, and maybe we get a little more time out of the other staff too, of the planner and the assistant town planner, potentially. So,
At some
So-
point, we're gonna be like, we need somebody.
yeah, so I think
soon.
let's maybe put it on the, potentially on the agenda for one of our next 2 meetings to have a more fulsome discussion, but I just wanted to provide a brief update on where we were there. Are there any other updates from committee wise?
Just that the minutes will be approved at the next meeting.
Yes, and we don't have minutes to approve this meeting, but we will have minutes. Did you find them?
Send them to you.
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to
We
add,
will put the minutes on for approval for the next meeting.
we have new town council,
Yes.
as you know. And so there was a grant agreement that was bouncing around for Sustainable Milton with the Pine Tree Brook Association. Prior town council had objected to the grant agreement because Sustainable Milton wanted to run the money, Pine Tree wanted to run the money through Sustainable Milton. They weren't mentioned in the article. And so they said, prior town council said that it didn't work. I said Sustainable Milton was acting as an agent for an unincorporated association, and I thought it worked. So we have new town council, they think it works, and so they revised the grant agreement finally to reflect the, different language. There's just a few
I saw,
clauses
yeah.
that got added to sort of cover the situation where Pine Tree Brook can't accept they don't have an account.
Right.
I mean, they can't cash a check.
They're not incorporated.
They're not incorporated. And so that's a reminder for us for the next round of grants and stuff that we need to be making sure that somebody exists.
If
Take the money,
Yeah.
take the checks.
And at the town meeting language
Reflects that.
reflects who's gonna be the recipient of it. Yeah.
So as far as you know.
Thank you for your, I mean, I thought that was an elegant solution and the right solution to,
Yeah,
you know, something that was getting stuck.
And has that been executed now? Are
I
they
believe
active?
it's been forwarded around, I think.
It was forwarded just
Today or yesterday?
yesterday, I
Yeah.
think, so I don't think it's been fully executed yet by all the parties, but
But that's the
They're
plan.
really anxious to get a check because they owe some money.
yeah, I talked to
Well,
Deb
yeah.
Milbar yesterday by phone and, or
Yeah.
no, by text, I guess, and so I think things are,
That's being
Yeah.
worked out.
But yeah, and so, as I said, it was sort of bouncing around and changing council didn't, you know,
You hiding back there?
didn't make it
Yeah.
easier.
Come join us.
It's a public meeting. You're welcome. Sorry if we didn't, I thought I could hear voices out there.
Hear your
We
voices.
wouldn't.
So why don't you, your first, we actually, it's perfect timing because we're
Perfect,
just, we're
right.
ready for you. And yeah, take a seat right up here and then we will have you introduce yourselves and
And we have a slideshow, do we want, how was the best way to connect to?
so if you log on, do you have a device to log on to run the slideshow or you can email it to me or?
I can maybe email it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, let me see if I can get on.
There is public Wi-Fi
Yeah,
here.
there's Meeting House
Meeting
Public.
House.
Okay.
Found it myself.
Yeah,
I was connected over there, that's why. I
Join
think I was connected to
yes,
Oh,
the
yeah.
other one.
Oh,
Like
that's
the
right.
main building, that's why it was like really weak.
your choice.
I should get laptops.
So. Okay, I just tried to send it to you, Tom, but if not, I'll try to get on the Zoom. Thank you.
I got the minutes.
I haven't read them.
Hasn't come
It
through.
hasn't come through
T
yet.
Callahan16@gmail.
For some reason I have a hard time remembering. Yes.
Perfect, patience. So the PDF or
Did? Nice.
I know, do you want me to try to get on Zoom?
I'm just trying to download it, so.
Let me try.
Okay.
Perfect, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for your
About to
patience.
panic.
I know, we're like,
Oh, time's up.
yeah, no, yeah. We will go fast, yeah, super fast. We will prepared. So thank you for inviting us to share with you our proposal for the CPC funding for the Tucker Playground renovation project. My name is Leslie McCarthy and I'm the past president of the Tucker PTO, and I'm here with Haley Byron and Marika Goldman Silva, the two current presidents of the Tucker PTO. As our application states, we are requesting $102,000 of CPC funding for the design phase of our renovation project. Our project goals are to build a safe, accessible playground and community space for Tucker School, neighbors, and the Milton community that is ADA compliant. You can probably go to the next slide. Sorry, the next slide. Tucker's current playground is 20 years old with asphalt, with outdated structures and ground surface of wood chips and asphalt that really is not accessible to all students and community members. The existing rock wall, one of the few features the children can enjoy, actually go to the next slide, is actually broken and unsafe to use and cordoned off with caution tape. Many of the children play soccer, kickball on asphalt, on a field rimmed with curbs. Just yesterday, the latest injury was a split chin and chipped tooth that required a trip to the emergency room for a second grader. And so given this space, our goal is to create a space that supports creative and active and social play for kids and adults to help with learning, fitness, and emotional growth. With Tucker's small landlocked footprint, this redesign is an opportunity for the Tucker community to reimagine this outdoor space, one where sports are safe and imaginative play is celebrated. We really feel the design phase allows us to really work with the small footprint we have compared to some of the other schools across town. We want kids to enjoy recess and to take pride in the space where they play and learn together. This is also a chance to support outdoor learning and environmental awareness through gardens in our outdoor classroom while promoting public health and active living for the community. Creating a space where teachers can use the school during the day and the neighborhood can use for weekend activities is really exciting for us to think about how we can use that space. Tucker is a close-knit community, not just with the students and families, but its surrounding neighbors. It's a walking school, so most of the people walk past the students, families, and neighbors walk past this playground every single day, and it's a sense of pride. Marika will share a little bit more about, but our mural, I think, was our first phase in the playground renovation, and it really brings a smile to everyone's face. So I can only imagine what revitalizing this entire space will do. As our letters of support indicate, we have had the support of Milton Public Schools, families in the community for this project, and we're excited to share more about our timeline and where we are and how CPC can help.
Great. You can go to the next slide. So this is our project timeline. There's 3 phases. The first phase 1 is complete. We're currently in phase 2, which is the design and construction preparation phase, and that will go through the summer of 2026. And then phase 3 will be the construction phase, which we hope to be 2026 through summer 2027. I'll go in a little bit further into phase 1 in just a second. Phase 2, right now we're working on continued fundraising and grant solicitation. We're working with various landscape architect firms and getting designs to look at, and then working on community outreach and with the town, Milton Public Schools in the town. And then the final phase will be the contract and equipment manufacturer, working with manufacturers, installation and surfaces, groundbreaking of the playground, and then removal of other surfaces and installation. If you go to the next slide, I'll go into what phase 1, which is complete. The first piece, which Leslie mentioned, was the public mural installation. This was done with the students, our art teacher, and with community parent and teacher input. And then we had an artist, Lee Beard, who did the installation, and everyone worked together with the design. And it was grant funded through the NEFA, Milton Mass Cultural Council, and then the local cultural council. And the goal was to really help improve the aesthetic of the outdoor space, and and providing the kids with additional art exposures through the residence artist program that we have at our school. If you go to the next slide, we have come together. We have a playground committee that has formed. It consists of parents, staff, and administration. We have been meeting monthly and working with Bill Madden, who's also a Milton Public School parent and landscape architect, to help research playground ideas. Working with staff, there was a staff survey conducted to get their feedback on issues with the current playground, things that they liked, what didn't work, what worked, just to get everyone's feedback on what we should be looking at and how we should improve it. We were using all this information to help decide if we could just restore the playground to be more functional, or if a whole new redesign was needed. If you go to the next slide, through initial brainstorming, we had several designs that came up, and after looking at them and knowing Tucker's really small footprint, we realized that a redesign was really what we needed to do just to maximize the space and provide, it's a very small space. And there's some logistical issues with facilities and trucks need to come in and out. So just to make that footprint give us the most functional play area, we decided that a redesign is what we needed to pursue.
So we took that concept, that idea after these initial brainstorming sessions and said, okay, we need to do a full redesign. So the next step was we created requests for proposals and we sent those out.
Sorry.
Yeah, before we did that, we sent those out, and then we found out quickly that we needed a site survey. So the next slide is that site survey, which the PTO funded. Before we could kind of go next steps, they required that we do that. So that was done over this past summer, and that's all set. Then with that in hand, we were able to get some proposals back from different landscape architect firms to be able to figure out how much this might cost and what we were doing basically. So we got back 4 proposals. Go to the next slide, please. And there was a lot of variation in what was provided, but what stood out most to us were 2 key areas. Number one is that it became clear that it would be extremely important for the design firm that we wanted to work with to be able to meet with us at multiple points, that they would be cooperative and have more of a partnership and some flexibility, because as we've talked about, there's multiple stakeholders in this particular redesign. We're gonna have the neighbors, the staff, the students, administration. We have an existing outdoor classroom that is used almost every single day of the year. Kids eat out there. They have a garden. They do science work out there. There's also the recreational space, and all of this is happening in a very small space. So it was very important that we have the firm be able to meet with the community on multiple occasions to be able to go back and work with us through these things. The second key piece that stood out to us was one of the proposals provided for helping us fund the project to secure grants. So the idea of being able to hire somebody that maybe help us pay for it, that was pretty attractive. So that is why we are making the request that we are, because even if we don't go with this particular firm, we anticipate going back to all of the firms that submitted proposals and saying, okay, include this. We need your experience and your help in getting funding. And some of these firms that we have dealt with have experience in more urban schools. And let's face it, Tucker is more akin to an urban school, given its footprint, and getting funding and working in really small footprints. So if you want to go to the next slide. So that's what brings us to our specific ask, which is the $102,000. That was the higher end of these proposals, and that was because it was inclusive of these multiple community meetings, the collaboration, the flexibility to take input and be able to make changes, and also the assistance with the funding requests. So that is the breakdown of the specific funding that we're looking for and what we anticipate that it will pay for. And that explains how we arrived at that number.
The next slide. And this is a more bird's eye view of how that particular request fits in with the total budget. So we have, like we said, paid for the mural, the site survey. We are hoping to pay for the landscape architectural services. And after that, we anticipate an additional approximately $475,000 for this project. It's an expensive project. But all of that being true, we are not stopping in sort of our work in funding this project. So this is the first piece, but immediately after this, we plan to seek funding from foundations, individual philanthropists. We hope to go to the state and pursue having a particular line item for this project, which has been done in the past, and we're gonna pursue it this time as well. As sort of a jumping off point for that, we are meeting with the superintendent tomorrow. We're hoping to get on the school committee's agenda at their next meeting and get a more formal blessing of this project so we can pursue vigorously these foundations getting on the budget at the state level. As has been alluded to earlier, we've always had the support of the administration, particularly at Tucker, where the principal sees what happens every single day and really wants this project to happen as well. And we have kept the superintendent, all of the superintendents in the loop on this project, but we are going to get a more formal support. The PTO wants to do this and move ahead, but we want the support of all of the stakeholders. And so that is our next step as we pursue all of these different funding avenues. And I think that's the last slide.
Just to add, like the teachers and administration at Tucker, I think when there's a rainy day, they look forward to that because they don't have to worry about the safety of the kids going outside.
That's sad.
And we know that
That's sad.
outdoor play and is so crucial just to be able to learn too. So this is just such an important project for Tucker. And we want our kids to be able to safely be outside playing and getting the benefits that come with outdoor.
Can you remind me how many students there are?
Just under 500.
So thank you, that's a great presentation. Questions from committee
I
members?
have
Rob.
a few questions.
Yep.
First of all, great presentation. I think I'm wondering from this standpoint, $102,000 for design is a big chunk of money, and then the project is another big chunk of money, and you haven't secured any of that money. I'm wondering, like from a committee standpoint, would you be could you go through a design like through a phase design, like take it through like design development, right? As you go through that. It may help you to like secure that funding through design development instead of going all the way through construction documents or whatever, while you continue to raise money and get grant money. So you get a designer on board, take them maybe through like 50% of it or something, right? Whatever that is, and then secure the rest of it later. Because through that process, it'll help you also drill down the final cost for your project, right? Because right now it's like, it's probably pretty accurate. It is a pretty big project, but I think it's like throwing darts at the wall, right? Like to figure out what that's gonna cost. My guess is it's probably gonna be even low, like for what you're doing, because you're basically like removing that whole thing and putting back a whole new playground. And the committee knows, like just the playground that's like over here was, I think it's around like 500 or 600, and that's just playground equipment and like the surfacing.
Beverly also.
Oh,
Right, yeah, Pepperly, that's what I mean, the Pepperly Park one. So anyways, it's just a question, cause like $102,000 is, might be the largest this committee's ever funded for planning and design. Which is fine, I think it's a great project, I think it's good, but like, there's also a way to look at it as like, hey, can we take you through a design development instead of going all the way through like CDs, right? And then that helps you like hopefully secure some money. I'm worried about like, where does the $621,000 come from? And I'd like to see a little bit like, okay, let's see where some of that makeup of like the money to get there. Because like at least this, and even this committee, like the Pepperly Park, we've heard about it for a couple of years and it's been continuing going on. And we're not there yet, so.
Just one thing, and I take all that in as helpful feedback, and I think the distinction between Peverly Park and the Tucker Playground is that this is a school and they have to have a playground. And it's very, very clear to everybody involved that this playground cannot continue. I mean, the situation is fairly dire, which is why from inception of this idea and really actively planning it, in just 6 months' time, we've come from nothing to effectively having paid for a significant chunk of this project. And I don't doubt our community's ability to, I know it's a lot of money, and which is why we want the design firm that can help us fundraise. And I'm fairly confident that as everyone we've spoken to has realized the dire need and for a very quick turnaround of this project, that at the state level, they can see the same thing. So I take what you're saying and certainly something to consider, but I do think that because it is a school playground serving close to 500 children in this town, it does make it distinctly different from Peverly in sort of the impetus that that can get behind getting it done.
Given the timing of when we like to do the work over the summer, we have some time constraints. So as much as we can do on the earlier side to get, design and construction documents ready, that way when we can maximize what we can do on an April break and then hit the ground running in June, so we're not disrupting the kids as much as we can. I think there will be some work that seeps into the school year.
Jenny and Cheryl and Pete.
Really great presentation and proposal, covered the bases, so congrats on that, that's good. That's sort of the information we need. One comment and one question. The comment is that, I think it was on page 3, you reference potentially a synthetic field, and just so that you know that the CPC cannot fund AstroTurf, so you know that. So, and anything related to it, so, okay, so you got that. And my question is, the PTO undertakes a lot of fundraising needs, so I'm wondering what else are you competing for in terms of projects going on that you are responsible for or expected to raise money for?
So we have our operational budget, which we fundraised for, and we have been fundraising for. And I would say that within the first month of school, we raised more for our operational budget than we did in the entire first half of the year last year, maybe even the first 3 quarters, knowing that we would have to dedicate substantial time later to the playground project. So we are raising money for our budget in addition to this playground.
So that's covered now? I'm not quite sure of the timing.
It's not
You said you
covered.
raised-
It's not covered. We've raised more than half of what we have raised total last year in just the first month of the year in.
So at what point do you switch to like,
Yeah.
okay, now we have to raise money for the playground?
I think we're doing it
We're doing it somewhat parallel, and also the thinking was if we can raise our budget, or at least what we spent last year, within a few months, then that gives us the rest of the year to raise either exclusively for playground, but also in terms of the annual appeal that was sent out and other things that have been kind of parallel tracks. The community is aware that we're raising money for this
So
project.
can I ask, how much is that operational budget you're raising?
It's 47,000.
That's your goal, or what do you?
That is our goal. What we spent last year was less than that. It was 36,000.
Okay, got it, thanks.
Okay, Cheryl, and I just want to move this along because we have others waiting, but Cheryl?
Thank you so much. Great presentation, and congratulations on what you've accomplished in 6 months. It's very impressive. And I just had a couple of suggestions for you to think about in your proposals from the landscape architects. Cost estimating, I don't know if they've included that, but it's an important piece of the work, so that you should have it done not just at the end of the CDs, but beforehand. So you get a design phase and have them do a preliminary cost estimate, so you get an idea of whether you're on track with what you budgeted so far. And then as it advances into construction documents, have them do at least one more at 50%, and then, maybe another one at 75 or 100, just so that if you are going to need to make adjustments to your budget, either make some design changes, you'd rather know it along the way than at the very end. And along those same lines, in thinking along those same lines, sometimes, you can have a firm work with you on some options, on alternates. So maybe different materials or different specifications. And so make sure that they include that in their proposals as well, so that you can get as much back and forth out of your design phase And so that you're not left with having spent all that money, to Rob's point, on getting your final CDs, only to find that you're gonna need to backtrack a little bit to make changes. So you want them working with you along the whole process.
Those are great suggestions.
And if the estimates come in higher than
High,
you expect,
yeah.
Consider phasing.
Right.
It's a possibility. I was gonna say, I don't know if you're aware, but the money, this grant, the money won't become available till July 1st. So your schedule is very aggressive and showing a lot of work happening now, but there's not gonna be money available till July 1st.
Thought of that, and Rick, I don't know if you wanna speak to it, I'm happy to as well.
It'd be approved if it were approved, it would be approved at town
Town
meeting, so
meeting,
you
May.
would know
We
it was
would
coming.
know, and
but-
we have
it's-
rainy day money that we could use to start the project if we
start
had the
it.
promise of funds,
that
so
was-
we have the money to get it going.
That we feel like we need to put it back into the account that
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
but we know it's,
We understand when it would happen, and we think we could get it going.
You could live with that.
and then part of the partial fundraising will go towards that and then
Exactly.
Yeah.
keep us moving.
And then the last thing I'd say is just to echo what everybody else said, this is a great project, and as you know, we funded the other elementary schools, so it's more than your turn.
Yes, yes.
And,
Yes.
Tucker is a great school. Everybody who goes there loves it, the community loves it. And so this is a great project, and, so thanks for bringing it
Maybe
forward.
some alumni parents.
We're working on a
Drafted letter to go
Has a
out
letter
to
gone out to
you.
Like, we did a fundraising appeal.
We're coming for you.
The letter
yeah.
is prepared, we're building our database.
Does any money come from the school committee at all? I mean, do they, the school
No,
budget
we
do
met with
anything
Katie
with that?
Blake last week, 2 weeks ago. She's been apprised of the project, and she actually did some playground with North Attleboro, so she actually gave us some good suggestions. She's the one who's suggested she'd help us with some of the state representatives and some of their
Is your
funding.
PTO a non-profit, like,
It
are they
is.
nonprofits?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, we're
so then
open.
you don't, so then they can do
So
whatever
yeah,
you
so-
want.
Way
Back
with the
when they were a
tinies.
nonprofit.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't have to go through like the public.
Exactly.
No, we
Exactly.
confirmed that, right, we
Yeah.
confirmed
Yeah,
that.
That's
with
good.
Katie Blake, yes. And so
That
we
saves a
would,
bunch of money.
we
Yeah.
would gift it to the
Gift
school
it to the
committee, and the school
Uh.
committee would accept like our design request and then basically bless the PTO to keep on going
Oh,
forward with the
okay.
project.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna move us along, cause it's
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
role as chair.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The one thing I would say, is you just mentioned it, but just the legislative component, Rep. Wells, Rep. Fluker, Reed, and Senator Driscoll will be key in that, so
Yes,
We have.
you can't start too early.
That's what, yeah, we're, after we meet with Superintendent Phelan
Yeah.
tomorrow, they're next on our.
We'll be at their doorstep.
Yes.
Great, great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
All right, Georgia, you're up.
I am on your Zoom, and so if you don't mind allowing me to share screen,
You should have sharing,
okay? Yeah,
since you were promoted to
see it.
panelist, yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
there it is. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna dive in. Have you all had a chance to read the proposal? Fantastic. Okay, that gets us to 75% of the way there. So I'm gonna start us with 2023, when we got our first grant. And we put that money to work right away. And we worked that very summer on our garden project, which I am going to click through. Hang on a second. I need to move this. Okay, you guys can see this. So here is the original community preservation plan. There are some of our workers. This guy donates services to the garden. We got a lot of P&E action, putting the money to work right away. So we had a garden tour in the rain, floral design, and there it is. There we have started our project. I didn't know that they were gonna take every single stone out of the wall, but they did. They wanted it to see what was behind it, to see what was going on. Turns out there was a chipmunk condominium back there, which they eradicated, and this was the class. Unfortunately, we had a class in a rainy day. But the class came, they learned about freestone masonry in which the stones are laid without mortar. And together, we started moving those stones into position, basically helping our guide, Michael Papille, who was the master mason we were working with, but we were hands-on that day with his guidance. And so we did feel like there was an educational component that day that, you know, everybody was pretty appreciative of. So here's the original stone wall in 1926 from the Steel Archive. And I'm just gonna have you note these trees back here, because those are gonna come into the narrative in a minute. So here we are working, little video of us at work. This is the dirt manicure, the absolute opposite of a French manicure. And we had a lot of women working. And so we all had a laugh because all our nails looked exactly like that. The signage has been great. The sign is still up, we are still enjoying it, and everyone knows how this garden came back together. So we took out an ad, I don't know if you guys saw this in the Milton Times, basically thanking the CPC after the project was finished. We really finished it right away. I mean, we got to work that summer, we finished that summer, we did a tune-up on the wall the following summer, but we blew through that project, you know, and we didn't waste any time. And then we started, here's an article in the Milton Times, and then we worked on public engagement, and we just started inviting people over. And public engagement has been, you know, a thing for us from the get-go. That's something we said we would do, and it's something I believe we delivered on. So, you know, now I'm just flipping through real quick to show you guys, you know, where we are now. Sorry, a lot of celebrations at the garden, a lot of advertisements telling people about summer Sundays at Spalding. We did a program in December. We did a historic garden tour. We did the Garden Conservancy tour 2 years in a row. More student volunteers, we've done that 3 times. This was another tour we did, and on and on. So now we're gonna get back to now. Hang on, a couple
Those
more.
Milton High students, or where are the students?
We have asked Milton High to partner with us, but we haven't received any volunteers from them yet. So Milton Academy has sent us volunteers every year for 3 years, which we appreciate. And they also send volunteers to the Trailside Museum, which is also maintained by the Milton Garden Club, and to other places all around town. They're really phenomenal, and Milton is too. We have had Milton High School volunteers, but I got them through the Boy Scouts, not through the school. So they were Boy Scouts, but anyway. Okay, so we do a lot of garden tours, you guys can see that. Oh, this was fun. This was a thing we did for the first time this summer. Let me go back to the first slide. Sorry. That's one of our students who happens to be my son. This was, I had heard that people are more likely to come to your weeding event if you serve wine. And so this was something we called the wine and weed. And sure enough.
Wine and weed, yeah, you better be careful with that.
We said,
Garden weeding.
It's legal now.
It's legal, yeah.
this was the wine and weed. And there were 3 people who had never been, 4, sorry, who had never been to the garden before, who came. We put it up on Facebook through Ian. And Ian's got a great megaphone. And so we met some new friends that night who came to our wine and weed, and it was really fun. Oh yeah, those were the weeds. Anyway, on and on and on. We got a sponsorship from Save a Tree. Have you guys heard of Save a Tree? We had, the master gardeners had identified some pests in our garden, and we honestly are on a shoestring budget. We run this garden mostly with volunteers and duct tape. And they came, they gave us a quote. I said, can we just do a little piece of that quote? We can't afford to do this. And they said, well, send us what you've got, send us a proposal. And I sent them basically what I made for you guys in 2023. I sent them the package of the history and the cultural landscape report and on and on. And they agreed to take us under their wing and give us full support
Oh, wow.
as our garden sponsor. So that's been a game changer for us. Because now the trees and shrubs are getting the amazing care that they need. And that we can't afford, we can do a lot, but we can't do tree work. And then this is just yesterday. We had more Milton Academy students volunteering, and this was yesterday. So the garden is really looking good right now if anyone wants to come visit. And one more thing I want to say about the garden now that is very different from 2023 is now we have garden furniture. We solicited donations. Some of these donations were in bad shape and we spray painted wrought iron that was from other people's backyards, but it's looking like a place you want to spend time, and it's looking loved. And love matters. When you go to a space that hasn't been loved on for a while, you can tell. And now the garden feels different. And any of you who went 3 years ago, you're going to see the difference. It's just clear. And that is part of that engagement piece that we said we would deliver, and we did deliver. So just want to give a shout out to that. So now we're to now. This is a current map of the garden, and the area in orange down here, we had considered as a possible proposal. We talked to two masons about both of these projects, and both of them steered us toward this project. It's just a more important project in the scheme of things. This is a European style brick bench, which you all may or may not have seen in the garden. And this is the main walkway as you're going to the bowling green. And as you can see here and here, the stonework is gone. And remember those trees I told you about in the very beginning of the presentation that we're going to come back into play? I'm going to show you. You see what happened. These trees were interplanted in the wall.
Oh.
And so that was part of, see that giant tree right there? This was part of Fletcher Steele's original design. This is the original plan from the Fletcher Steele archives. Do you see the bowling green had an alley of trees, and his idea, we're told, was to cut them down every 10 years and replant them so that they didn't get too mature. But what happened was that just quit happening. And so these trees got really big. And this is anecdotal, but it comes from, our cultural landscape reporter. So we're pretty sure this is true. The trees actually compromised the wall. So now we have this wall that needs to be addressed. And now we're gonna get to the proposal, which, you've seen the background, Fletcher Steele was known for his stonework, his walls, his rooms. He created a lot of different features. And this is a feature that at this moment really just needs some love. I'm gonna go back to that image because these images sort of speak to the repair that needs to happen. So this is work that is shovel ready. We can do this in the 2026 calendar year if we get a grant. The work would be done to the Interior Secretary guidelines, as always, and we have submitted those guidelines with a checklist of how we would comply. We would source the bricks, the historic bricks, for any of the missing bricks, because there are some missing bricks. And we'd also, in addition to, so our objectives include restoring the stone wall and the decorative brickwork. And also in this rear corner back here, this wall also will be repointed. And then we want to educate the public. We did it last time. We want to do it again. And we want to talk about the importance of historic gardens. Why do they matter? And this is a piece of Milton, and it's a classroom. It's a place where we teach about horticulture, where we teach about, yesterday's kids didn't know what a monoculture lawn was versus the lawn that we have, which is interspersed with clover, and why that might be a good thing. But they were they were into it. And then we want to create opportunities for community engagement, including but not limited to sport. We do believe that this bowling green has lots of, I mean, you could have a spike ball tournament there. So anyway, there are a lot of things you can do, and I have had actual requests for croquet from people who like to play croquet. I'm open to anything. Okay, so we do hope that you agree with us that historic preservation is being served, that recreation potentially is being served, and certainly open space preservation. And I'm just gonna keep going. This 2022 CPPC plan notes, we would like to increase publicly accessible open green spaces. This good neighbor policy is needed for ecological protection, restoration, sustainability in the face of climate change, and community well-being. We believe that that is well said, and we agree, and we hope that this fits into that plan. Work could commence as soon as summer of 2026. I'm just hearing about the checks coming out in July. I think if our contractor was willing to do net 30 or net 60, we could probably start in the summer. However, happy to do in the fall, and we've talked to several contractors, I'll be honest. Is one of them here? No. He was gonna try and come and back me up if you guys had like specific technical questions, but I see that he's not here. And that's okay, because you guys know him. Chris Pugsley from A. Thomas was one of the contractors that we talked to. And the thing we like about Chris is that he's local and he has worked in the garden before. And he has also worked on a shoestring before, and we like to do a lot with a little, as you guys know. So we're asking for about $15,000. That's 11% less than we asked for last time, and we believe we delivered a project that was on time and on budget. So I think we're probably on the small end of the projects you're likely looking at in this cycle. And we feel pretty confident that we could make that happen in the calendar year. So I have excerpts from letters, I have our preservation philosophy, but I'm gonna move to questions if that's okay, because all of this is in the report.
No, and we need to move along.
Great.
Once again,
So,
Georgia, thank you.
yeah.
So questions from committee members?
So so it's 15,000 is what?
You said 10 to 15 here.
I said 10 to 15, and I think that we all agree that it's important to be conservative. And I think we don't know what we don't know in terms of, because the 10 represents the labor and the buffer represents the cost of potential stone that we might have to buy, the cost of sourcing bricks, and then the potential cost of reseeding the lawn and maybe doing some grooming, and then that far bed is gonna have to be re-infilled and replanted.
So you really want 15?
Yes.
Just say it.
Just say you
Just
want
say it.
15.
It's fine.
I
Just say it.
think
Fine, just say
having
it.
had more conversations since September 25th when I submitted this, I think 15 seems more realistic as something.
Do.
Okay, so thank you.
We just need to plug in a number
We need to
for
plug in a number.
for our deliberations
Let's
and
plug in
spreadsheet, so
15.
we'll
Thank
plug
you.
in 15.
Thank you. I think that's a great, I would love to finish under that amount, but we won't go over, that is for sure.
You'll find a way to spend it.
Jenny? Jenny?
You referred to this as phase 2. Now, the first proposal didn't mention anything about phase 1, 2, or anything. So I'm
Right.
curious about
Yes.
how this became phase 2 when we didn't
Sure.
know with phase 1 or there was gonna be phase 2, and
Sure.
is there more phases you expect?
Absolutely. So when we first had our conversation at the library back in 2022, that was maybe, I don't know if you guys remember this, I asked for 5,000.
Yep, I did.
And I said, we're gonna do as much as we can for $5,000 and we're just gonna, spackle everything. And you guys were like, no, get us a project. But the idea in that moment, and I know a lot more about masonry now. But the idea was that we were going to start a large scale masonry project that would take decades to complete. Because we're not gonna ask you for $100,000. We're gonna ask you for small amounts that we can bite off, things that we know we can do in 1 year so that we have pushed the ball forward on the garden. And then we will come back maybe in 3 more years. And in 6 years from the initial project, you guys are, I hope, gonna say, wow, you guys did a lot with that money. You gave a lot back to the town. We see you as a partner, we see you as an asset, and we're glad to keep dancing.
So is there another phase 3 to this?
Oh,
I wasn't
well,
quite
so
sure.
remember
There's
that
a phase
picture.
3, 4, 5, 6.
Do you remember the picture of the, and
Orange
this,
and the yellow?
yes,
Yeah,
the
I got it.
orange, I would
Okay,
love
got
to
it.
accomplish at some
Yeah,
point.
got it.
And honestly, I would lean on the Masons to tell me what the next project is. And when the Masons came by to look at the garden, everyone agreed that this was probably the next project. This is absolutely what we should do next. There were 2 walls, 2 retaining walls, and one was badly in need of being restored. That was why it was like the emergency project. The other wall's still stable. So that wall may not ever need to get done, we don't know. But for now, it's stable, there's no reason to go to the second wall. This is the project. So,
Thanks.
yeah.
The only comment I would make is, we emphasized to you the first time about there had to be public access and things like that, and I think it went over and above anything we could have anticipated. And, made this a real open to the public community asset. And so, we're delighted with how far you've taken that.
Thank you. That was our goal, and we
I mean, when you first came, I've been a 30-year resident, so I was a 27-year resident, and I had never heard of Spalding Garden. So I'm not saying there's not residents that still don't know about it, but it's changed dramatically, and we really do appreciate that
well, we
effort.
appreciate you appreciating.
Especially from a volunteer group too. I
Yeah.
mean, we recognize, and also your go steady and slow approach to as a volunteer. You're not, biting off more than you can chew as volunteers, and that's smart and appreciated too. Any other questions for Georgia?
Okay.
Georgia,
Well,
thank you.
please read the letters of support because they're really good.
We read everything.
Okay, good. So thank
But,
you
yeah.
all, and should I sign off the Zoom?
Yeah, probably, unless you wanna.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
great, thank you
Good.
all.
Thanks, Georgia. All right, next up is Spalding Garden.
No.
No, Winter Valley.
I-
I think it was Winter
Yes,
Valley.
I'm reading, I can read, but I can't read in order correctly. Winter Valley, sorry.
And I wish we had thought of one.
And read.
Yeah, and we.
So Pete, do you wanna, what are you doing right now? I mean, just,
Yeah,
you wanna
I'll
explain?
explain, I'll
Yeah,
explain.
Okay.
As the committee member knows, and any public that are involved, I'm a member of the committee. And so I volunteered to step away from the committee for this project in order to help Winter Valley take a more professional and more comprehensive look at the resource that they have out there in order to identify projects. So I'll do this presentation, but I will not participate in any of the deliberations or anything related, to funding this or anything. So that's kind of my role here. So working with Marita and several others, I prepared a historic landscape report, which is part of our submittal. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at it. And I don't know if you want to, I can pass this around while I'm talking if anybody hasn't looked at it or is interested in it more. And based on that report, well, Tom, if you would get that up. So the first project that we look forward to talking with the CPC about is the restoration of the pine grove on the property. And we'll get to that. So the property, the Winter Valley Residences Incorporated, is a senior housing residence, which you probably all know. But the original Winter Valley was the estate of, if you flip the next slide, of Jeffrey and Alice Whitney, who had an extensive property at the corner of Canton Ave and Hillside Street, Highland Street, and going as far as Holmes Lane and back in there. And it was called Winter Valley because it really is two elevated areas going to a central valley that floods go down all the time. And it was also Winter Valley because it was their winter estate primarily. He worked in town, and in the summer they would be on the Cape. But I'm gonna go through these real fast. There's no need to really look too much at them. This is the Winter Valley Mansion. It's the back rear view because I didn't have a good picture of the front view. But one thing to notice in the lowest part of the building, you see those what are they, 6 times 3, 18 windows going across. That's a part of the Olmsted design, which is the garden room, which is identified in that building there. But that's the house, which now has an outstanding garden historian and preservationist who lives there and has lovingly taken care of the house and done some restoration work. Next slide. This is Henry Hubbard, a very noted landscape architect who at one point had a business of his own and worked with the Olmsted brothers at the time that he worked on Winter Valley. He happened to live at 15 Spafford Street in Milton. He was very active in town affairs, on committees and town affairs. But a very well-known landscape architect and educator in landscape architecture. Next page. This is the plan for the terrace garden, which is one of the main features of the historic landscape at Winter Valley. It was a series of 3 terraces, 4 terrace walls, each one having a different character going down the hill into the valley. Next slide. So these are, on the right, there's the 4 terrace walls, the stone walls that create the terrace. And the water flows down from the top terrace all the way down. And then on the left are a couple pictures that kind of give the historic pictures that kind of give the character of the terrace garden. On the upper picture, you can see kind of a formal, in the middle, there's a pool that's kind of a formal cross, but on the right is the pump house potting shed, garden shed, that's part of the property, part of this garden. Next slide. There's the garden shed when it was first built in the drawings that were used to build it, and on the right is what it looks like today. That is going to be another restoration project. Don't know whether it'll come back here or not. Next slide. The second major element of the landscape that still exists out there today is what they call the naturalistic pool. On the left is the Olmsted plan for the pool. It's a rock line. There was a little farm pond there, and they made a larger, more formal pool in a pastoral tradition. It has rock lines along the edges and some very beautiful plantings and some lawns. Very, gorgeous part of the whole landscape design. And the residences, the Winter Valley residences, have invested in the dredging of that pond, which is an ongoing project. It's going on out there now. But for about the past 3 weeks or a month, they've been dredging and recreating the historic character and restoring some of the historic elements of the pond. Next slide.
The Whitney children used to ice skate
Yeah.
on that pond. And they also have a canoe that they used to use on it.
This is a current picture before the dredging. And it's the invasive yellow flag iris, very beautiful, but it's not good for the health of the pond or for the character of what the pond used to be. And that's no longer there because they've taken it out. On the right is the dredging plan that the Winter Valley took to the Conservation Commission and got approval for and things like that. And that work is underway today, funded by the residences. Next. The gardener's house is in the upper left there, and that's the nearest part to the rock garden, which is the third, major design element that still exists out there today. The middle lower one is kind of the condition of a lot of it now. But the two upper ones, you get more an idea of the character of the rock garden, which is adjacent to the pond. The right picture on the right, you can kind of see the edge of the pond in relation to the rock garden. Next slide. The fourth major historic element that's still out there today is the pine grove, and these pine trees, large pine trees. These photos are back from the 40s. And they're quite a bit bigger today, and they pre-existed. They were in the farm and the property when the Whitneys bought it, starting in the 1920s. They built the house and bought the land. But the pine grove, not only there's the pines, and then along a lot of the faces, there were a lot of ornamental plants, a lot of rhododendrons facing what was called the farm road, which is on the other side of the pine grove from here. But you can see the character of some of the pathways that wound through the pine grove and around the pond, and the plantings that were in the pine grove. And that's been identified as the first phase project for restoration. Next slide. This is some views of the pine grove today. The first phase is the road that you see in the foreground there is the major road that goes to the housing that are kind of at the rear of the property and where the new building is going to be built. But all the vegetation that you see between the road and the pines, that's all just volunteer vegetation that's grown in there. It doesn't have any special character, and it hides the character of the beautiful grove of pines and the rhododendrons that used to line along there. So for the first phase, we want to remove all that vegetation back to where the pines are, keeping any of the existing rhododendrons that are still there, and do some replanting to kind of create the character along that main entrance drive that people see, the kind of the historic character of that. And then I propose second phase. Okay, the overall restoration plan, I'm missing one important element on here, and I thought I got it corrected, but I didn't. Dredge and restore the pond, which is underway now. Restoring the pine grove, the rhododendron edge, which is what we're looking for funding now. We're talking about a volunteer effort to do vegetation management and planting along the pond and the rock garden, whether we can accomplish it with volunteers. If we have volunteers like Georgia brings out, I think we can probably get it done. The other major thing that for some reason didn't get on this list is the terrace garden. The terrace garden is very complicated. There have been some intrusions in it. There's a large pergola shade shelter that's out, not a pergola, but a shade shelter gazebo that's out there that's very well used by the residents and things like that, that interrupts the flow of the, so, that's probably not going anywhere, but I think we need some real good design to bring back and restore historic character. One of the things that the Whitneys did before they sold the property, partially for development of Winter Valley, was they converted the second and third terrace primarily into a swimming pool. So they had an active swimming pool out there with a diving board and all that. And that destroyed one of the terrace walls and has changed the character of that. And personally, from my point of view, I think it would be great, to work with the board at Winter Valley and see whether there might be some real restoration of the character of the terraces out there again through removing the addition of the swimming pool and doing some restoration there. And then we haven't done evaluation of, a lot of the masonry and things like that, but it's amazing to look at. And I would love if, the committee would at some point either individually can make arrangements to go look at it or come as a group and look at it, because it's something that's really special that people didn't really know what.
Yeah.
The general people in
Kind
Milton.
of like the Spalding Garden.
Kinda like the Spalding Garden. And then-
A real treasure that should be preserved.
Exactly. And if you just go back one, because I missed the last two there. Design and installation of some interpretive signage so we can show historically how it was developed and things like that and use it as an educational tool. And I think the residents would get a kick out of learning more of what they've got. I think the town is lucky that Winter Valley hasn't done more destruction of this, wonderful historic landscape, and it's as intact as it is. And then also, the possibility of a nomination of the state or national register. It certainly is appropriate, it certainly could qualify, and it would just be a decision whether the board of Winter Valley would like to pursue that. Last slide.
So just a question on that. If they did that, would that make the property eligible for grant funding?
For other grants, you mean historic?
Historic preservation grants.
Probably, yeah. So the current project, what we're seeing is phase one for the summer and fall in 2026. At a cost of $20,000 to do the work that I had described from the road back to there's been a lot of storm damage. So there's trees that are down, there's dead trees standing, there's stumps, a lot of work. Hunt Tree came out and walked and looked with it and gave us a cost of $20,000 for the first phase. The second phase is to do the rest of the pine grove that extends between the road or between the work in phase one and the pond back there. That's estimated at $75,000 or so. What we're asking in this grant proposal is to get $20,000 to start and to use as seed money to go out and try to get some donation and additional funding so that we can do that second phase.
So 20,000?
We're looking for 40,000, 20,000 is phase one, and 20,000 to contribute to the $75,000 estimate for phase two. I guess there's one more slide there and it just says what I just said.
So,
All right, questions? Cheryl?
I just piped in, sorry, Tom.
No.
I think what we spoke about during the summer was this being open to the public, right? A question about, or I guess the same kind of thing that was asked of Spalding Garden. I know, since I don't live far from there, I've walked and I've wondered about that. I guess the terrace gardens that you've talked
Yeah.
about, and there must be a story to this that I don't know. And, but I don't know if people think that they should be, that they're going on private property. I don't know, like many people would think that they can go there. So would that be handled to make it public?
First of all, the residents and their guests, feel comfortable walking around that property. And certainly if it was improved with the paths restored, they would feel that way. And I think the same to have special days, the same as Spalding Garden does, I think would be something that would be.
Okay.
But it was certainly anybody.
So your neighbor may actually want to help you with some of that planning, I would think so, right?
Truly, people do drive up and, it certainly can, even just a drive-by.
Yeah.
But having some, Sundays that it's open or whatever that, are volunteers and invite neighbors and things to help volunteer with the rock garden or whatever it is. I think using kind of the same kind of imagination that George has brought to the garden club has brought to the Spalding Garden. I think, within limits, given, the nature of the residences there, but we understand, and I've spoken to both the executive director and to Marita, that this committee, believes very strongly that this is public investment that comes from everybody's tax bills. So there really has to be an access element to the whole thing.
Well, the garden tour down the street. I think it's if you think about like even the trough at the intersection of Canton and Reedsdale as a piece of the history. And then this is piece of history and Spalding's piece of history. They tie together in some ways, in terms of if you think about a historic walk in the area. So, I mean, I think the research that you've done, Pete, looks really interesting, and I haven't had a chance to read it. But I do think preserving historic landscape is as important as historic buildings. And so I think this is a really great application.
Jenny?
Probably accessibility is the number one sort of issue overriding thing
Public
around this
access.
one. But I had a couple of questions about the, so when you remove the scrub brush and the logs, is there to be replaced by anything, or is that just becomes like, what is that?
Well, historically, there were some plantings and stuff along the edges, but in the interior, it was really just a pine woods with pine needles on the floor and pretty much an open woods like you'd find in the Blue Hills, you know, around Houghton's Pond. There's a beautiful pine grove on, you know, one side of that, and so that would be the character. But there were, when it was actively maintained and things like that, there were wildflowers that were planted, you know, around the edges and in there. But it would primarily be an open woods with some paths going through it that people could
Taking out the invasives and
Yeah.
that have
preserving the native.
So you
things.
poison ivy.
Yeah, good, yeah. So, you got a quote from Hunt, was there any other quotes that were requested?
No, just because they've done, you know, all the tree work out there, they're the ones who kind of know the property and know how to work, you know, in that environment. So we haven't put competitive bids or anything out, and this is just to get, you know, a
Right.
start on.
And that second 20 to get another 20, am I getting this right? Would be to
75.
75, yeah, to,
20 of what we anticipate
Yeah.
75.
right.
And
And
the
so-
20 is, you know, just kind of get seed money so we can go to people and say, we've got a project and we've started fundraising. And we've gotten a commitment from the town for 20,000 and trying to get some, you know, additional funding.
So would that be, sorry, to consultants or something to help you, or what would that actually pay for?
The 20,000 would be part of the construction cost
Oh, it would be.
The work.
to doing the work.
Uh-huh.
But it's, you know, to seed so that we can go to people and say, you know, you've got a project that there's already some public commitment to, and, you know, we want to build on that.
So you would have if you were fully funded, you would have 40,000 towards $100,000 two-phase project,
That's right.
and you would need to raise the other 60.
That's a good way to.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, Marita, initiating.
Thanks for getting me
Initiating.
involved.
It was my lucky day when Pete said, "I'll help you with that."
Yeah.
And actually, I just want to add one other comment, is that I think a site visit would be appropriate for this one.
Yeah, Marita has
Be helpful.
reached out to me and offered to walk up there with me, and but if the committee, we could set up a formal site visit, we'd have to post the meeting and stuff, but I think that would be,
I'd love to.
Yeah, me
I
too.
think that would be appropriate. We've done that at a few other locations on other proposed projects, and I think that, so we'll follow up and we'll get a date on the calendar.
Thank you.
I guess I'm not done.
Yes, I could just read Winter Valley, and when I really mean geofield. So, and Kevin is on the line.
Is he?
Yeah, so I can
How do I,
promote him to panelist here.
I think you'll want, because I have the presentation.
So you want me, I'll promote you to panelist.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do what Pete did, step myself out of the committee.
Can I just ask a question?
I'll promote
And
both
this
of us.
came up a little bit at our previous meeting. People who are on like representing park department.
I know, it's hard.
Or representing the planning board or representing, it seems, I can see me, because I don't represent Winter Valley or anything like that, that I should step away. But is it inappropriate for people, you know, if?
No, I think
I
this
have no
is
idea.
different. You're acting as your
No,
private.
I agree, so you
private-
talked about
yeah, I
stepping
don't know.
away.
No, I don't think you have to,
I don't
think you do.
because that means I couldn't
Right.
vote on the affordable housing,
Right,
you know,
which
proposal.
makes sense.
We haven't, you know, in the 3 or 4 years, we haven't done that yet, so
Yeah.
I don't think you need to. to step away.
Thanks.
No, thank you, Pete.
Alright, am I a panelist? Okay. Yes.
Yeah, everybody's a panelist. Kevin's on,
Everybody's a panelist.
and
How do I share my screen?
why are you not a panelist?
Did you say yes when it asked you?
It's gonna ask you a
No,
question.
Okay, hold on.
It did pop up.
Did it? Okay, there we go. Join this panel. Sorry, I missed it. Okay. Go share.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
Good evening, thank you.
No, our first voice on the Zoom.
Alright. It's taking some time. Alright. So. This project, in conjunction with Milton Parks and Recreation, is requesting funding for infrastructure improvements to Geo softball field in order to construct a new pitching batting cage at the first base side of the field. Currently, the area is overgrown, eroded from water, and the pitching rubbers and plates are in disrepair. The visitors' dugout along this side is also hard to access without interrupting the home team and gameplay. This project will install a new retaining curb alongside this hillside to allow for better access, water management, and to allow for proper safety netting for batting as well as pitching. The ground will be properly replaced with new stone dust to allow for minimal ongoing maintenance. And just yesterday, I visited with Bill Madden out to the site. We looked at it, and we since have amended our application a little bit, and I'll show that in the next few slides for an improvement for this project. It's basically to address a bigger access issue to the fields with a new staircase. So just to kind of go over the project goals. This project aligns with the CPA goals to provide a stronger sense of community, physical activity, and promote a safe and accessible environment for all Milton residents. And then as noted in CPC Plan, page 38, this project specifically addresses an upgrade to an existing town park, Geo Field, with an investment in athletic facilities to improve their utility, improve drainage, safety, fencing, and team amenities. And then, of course, player safety is always important for any of our teams, So just some of the metrics of Milton softball, this will affect over 450 plus players, ages 5 through 14. Geo Field gets a lot of usage, it's probably the number one, it's the number one field in town for softball. Specifically, it gets about 15 games a week in the spring, 6 games a week in the summer, and then it is our home for Milton High School as well as JV 5 times a week. So I wanted to just kind of address some of the issues and with some of the site access issues. So if you guys know, if you've come here, which I do quite a bit for any kind of sports, when you go to the parking area here, the main majority of foot traffic is coming to the middle of the parking lot. And then there's kind of secondary foot traffic either at the front part of the parking lot or the back part of the parking lot. And so you'll know what basically is up on the right side is the soccer fields. And so in the fall right now, that's cooking pretty well, and most people will actually still go down the slope that's in pink. And so we've highlighted this and probably on a future phase of a project, it is a dangerous thing. Even my wife and I have fell down this slope like 2 weeks ago. And if you guys know it, it's a major hill, and there probably should be a staircase there at some point. But we're not gonna address that for this project. If you specifically see right here, there's in red here is around the first base side, you'll see this cage, and I'll show you some existing photos, but this is where like the new cage would be. So the ADA ramp.
Pushed out from where the existing cage is?
No, it would basically be where it is, and I'll show you, and it's
Okay.
same footprint, but the access issue is all the way over to the left side, right? And so I think most people go down that slope because, of course, the long ramps and the ADA. I'm sure, kids and parents are going down that slope and it's dangerous, but to go around this access, you still have to go all the way around there. And if I go to the next slide, you'll see the major piece here and what the town and parks department, what we've done here is like we've basically closed off this visitor dugout. So it's not great where you go down to this hill. The only way to access this visitor dugout, and it would be to access this new cage, would be to come through the field of play, or you go through the home field. And then you either have to go, so for today in the fall, even to go to the soccer fields, most people go down this way, go through the softball field, goes across the dirt, and then there's the fence up right now. That's a temporary fence. Milton softball usually takes down that fence, and so most people still go down that way and walk across the field.
Why is it fenced off behind the visitor dugout?
I don't know, like, and maybe Kevin has a better, like, I
It
think
wasn't when we built it.
well, the main reason though is I think because they didn't want parents like going like by like it, cause it's a visiting bullpen, but I must say, it's terrible because you still have to go around to this access site. So as we go through that, I think we've been addressing that over like probably the last year. It's not great. And I've also had like teams come over while there's like in field to play, and it's not a great thing. So when we went out and visited yesterday, one of the areas about 45 feet to where your ramp is, Pete, there's a flat landing. And we could cut in stairs here. I was thinking originally to put stairs closer, like behind the visitor dugout, but you've got the light post there and everything, and it's also really expensive to like dig out. Like basically you're in the hillside there. So what we're thinking is like where the one flat landing is, we don't have to touch the ADA ramp, but we would put stairs down from that to where the one flat piece is, and it would work out pretty well so that and I'll show you some pictures in a second, but what that would do is it now creates an access alongside here, which for this project, it also provides like access for people that if there's a game going on, people could also maybe like use the cage, and they could be separated out, but it also provides access to the visitor dugout now as well. So getting back, that just addresses the access issue, but then the project itself would be a new cage here, which you'll see like in the bottom of your right-hand side. It would be, we've done two similar cages at Cunningham Park. So it basically has 3 posts, and then they put up like a netting around it. And we wouldn't be changing any of the fencing, which you'll see in a second. All that fencing basically stays there. And then we would do new stone dust, you'll see. So this is the existing condition. This was photos from yesterday. This basically is the project as today, the left part, which you can see, it's no one really maintains it today, it's overgrown. So we have enough, we originally thought there was gonna have to be like a pretty big high retaining wall on the right side, but when we looked at it, it only really needs like a curb with like some drainage behind, so we think it can be a little bit less of a curb, but like to divert the water around it, we'd put new stone dust in, and then the net would go up. And then basically the picture to the right is like, you see that there's a gate right here. So that is like a hill, and that's where we would want to put the staircase down to go down to provide access to it. And so that is the right picture would be like where we would want to come through. We'd have to obviously, take out some of the railings and then like make a landing. We obviously, it's just like thinking right now, so we're hopeful that, I think we have enough space to do it. It's just about getting it in and getting it in and doing it. So I get to the cost of the project and the CPC funding request. When we originally applied to you, we were looking for $80,000. So as of yesterday, we amended that. Bill, when I talked to Bill said, I think we were gonna need around $100,000. We have a $10,000 pledge from Milton softball. And then in addition to that, we would put $10,000 from the Milton Parks and Rec. So we would have $20,000 altogether. So the updated request would be for 80 to do the whole project. And I think while we could do this project without the access, we think the access is really needed, and I think it would make a huge improvement for the overall field in general. So that's that, and then I do just wanna, just the timeline for this. This may be ambitious to do like 16 weeks. I think typically softball ends like early August, would be like August 1st. And then it would go through until like November. So that's around the timeline that we wanted to be in. And then Kevin and I, we just also, we wanted to say too, from the Parks and Rec Department, is we went forward with this application. We also pulled back our Andrews application because we thought it didn't make a lot of sense, why you all know that we're going forward with a town-wide recreational master plan, which was funded by the CPC. That's been going pretty well. We had a kickoff meeting here. Some of you attended, and we're working with Time Bond on that. So we didn't want to put like a $300,000 investment in that right away without like, studying back that. So we pulled that back. And so that's why we're, put this one forward.
Okay. Questions? So one question I have, and maybe this is for Kathleen, can we fund stairs?
Well,
part of
not-
the project?
It's part of the whole,
Access to-
It's part of the
Yeah,
project, yeah.
so I think as long as it's part of that.
Okay.
You couldn't do it on its own.
Right. Okay.
And related to that, you come up with a 20 grand figure as of yesterday. So how realistic is it?
I think it's pretty realistic, knowing that like Bill was just throwing out linear footage for even the curb. So I'm going on his expertise, which I feel pretty confident in. Similarly, someone asked me a cost of construction, I would feel pretty confident in knowing around a ballpark. I think the next steps for this too would be to go with Kevin and Bill and maybe get some other contractors out and look at it and go over it.
I guess it would be useful to actually have paper on it as part of the application, a supplemental budget.
Yeah, we will.
That would include that estimate.
If you have that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I think
Submit it as supplemental.
Yeah, and I think in like the next few, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks, try to get someone out there with us to look at it again.
You should talk to Folsham.
Yeah, who's doing the Kelly field? Yeah.
They're working on the
They're
dugouts
doing the
at
dugouts now.
Kelly, so they
Just need the roof.
Yeah.
just need the roof, get the guidance.
2 weeks for the roof to come in.
Oh,
2
good.
more weeks,
What do you
okay.
say?
Yeah.
I would go out and when they were working on it, it's like, when's the roof coming? When's the roof coming?
I talked to them today and
That's good.
Beacon, the supplier, was held up, so that's the reason.
Yeah.
Supply chain.
And then related to the
Supply
other,
chain.
to the major thing is, did you get other quotes besides, was it golf course management? Is that who it was that you?
Yeah, so to be all fair, both Kevin and I didn't realize until we got Tom's email of the day of the funding. So Kevin and I like did our wonders in one day to put a funding application together. And so we're lucky enough that Kevin was able to get that quote from them. And then like I know Bill Madden pretty well, so we were able just to like wrestle it through. And then yesterday I had time to go out there because I was like, this has been bugging me for a while because I know we constantly play. And the fact that we have no access to that dugout is terrible. And then if we're gonna be putting money into this, I know we use this constantly. And the one staircase to the right, no family goes and uses that to go down to the field. And I think just even going down this, that will help, I think, help alleviate some of the traffic and maybe will help some of the safety issues too.
Because it's a parks department, do you need to do an open bid?
We will, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But, we did the same thing for Kelly Field, right? And with those dugouts and they're up, they're getting constructed right now and they'll be almost done. In a few weeks, the roofs will be on. So we know and we would do the same thing.
So,
Okay.
Good
Any
question,
other-
yeah.
Yep.
there have to be other teams that use this field besides the girls softball, right?
Men's softball also uses it, and they use it like at night, so that's it's not just the Milton girls softball, it's also the high school softball, but it's a softball field.
There's
I'm
a
just
men's
wondering-
league that's
There's a men's
using
league.
it right now.
So I was just wondering if there's any other potential funding opportunities for another group, that's all.
Yeah,
It's primarily a softball.
It's
field.
primarily
A girl
softball field.
softball field, yeah. I mean, maybe the men's.
But if the men's league uses it, maybe they can kick in.
So is it really then that the field's only used from August through November and then the rest of the year just sits there?
a lot of time.
But the
No,
outfield
it's-
is used
Yeah,
for
no,
soccer.
it's-
No, the outfield's used for soccer, right? So with that fence is taken down.
Infield is, the season is late March. The high school
Right.
starts practice mid-March
Okay,
through.
no, I
through-
just,
Pickleball?
No, I'm just curious,
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah.
I don't
Sure,
have
kids
any-
I mean, it's
go
like
out,
baseball,
throw
I mean, it's like
footballs and-
baseball too, like, you know, everyone has a season, but the one nice thing about this field is that fence that you see, like, that's taken down by Milton
Yes.
softball every
Yeah.
year, so Milton soccer uses it. And we're starting to see this right now, like, we just don't have enough space, like, there's not even enough soccer space, there's hardly enough fields, so finding better ways to get like multi-use
Right.
out of fields is gonna be important.
That's why I was just asking, feeling surprised that it was like the use seemed less,
The outfield is definitely soccer.
So,
yeah,
okay.
you're
all right,
right.
thanks.
I would like to know, we're the only application tonight that has supplemental funding of $20,000 to our application. So what I would say too, is like, for any other applications, it's really good to get supplemental funding, at least from my standpoint. I think it's really good to get that.
Well, the Tuckers
Tucker
doing
did.
their own fundraising.
Yeah,
For the second phase, Winter Valley's got fundraising to do, so it's not everything's going.
And Spalding Garden had in kind.
All right, we're gonna move on.
Yeah.
Rob and Kevin, thank you very much. Kevin, is there
Thank
anything
you
else
so
you wanna
much.
say?
No, I'm good. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank
thanks,
you.
Kevin.
All right. Jeff.
Is it good to go last? I don't know.
It is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah.
Okay, I just have one paper handout.
Jeff, why don't you introduce yourself and
Jeff,
Pardon?
why don't you introduce yourself and
That's it,
your
sure.
guest and.
Yeah, I'm hand this out first.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Where's the slideshow? So first of all, thank you very much for having us. This is Michael Klutchman of VHB, who's our primary project contact, and he led the feasibility study, which the CPC generously funded, and which we think was an excellent report and an excellent effort, giving us sort of a blueprint and ideas for how we can move forward. So this is the last page. First of all, thank you very much for the work you do. I know what it is to do this kind of work, so really appreciate the CPC's work. So this is the last page of the feasibility study, and these are a variety of next steps, not necessarily in order. The one I want to call attention tonight, which really your attention to, which applies to the current funding request, is the second from the bottom of the bullet list, develop, I think it's more 10% that we're.
Yeah, in your application. But
Yeah, in the application, but design plans for a prioritized segment. So as I think you know, the Milton Brook Walk is conceived in seven segments, running from really the Neponset River to Ullin Skating Rink, potentially. But, and you had advised us in a letter to consider combining our request with the Pope's Pond grantee, which is the Conservation Commission. And we're happy to do that, to work with them on improving accessibility, which is the emphasis of this whole funding request tonight. But we haven't really got a handle yet from the Conservation Commission on the status and priority and where they are with regard to working on that trail. If and when we do, we'll be happy to work with them. The important thing to us is that you can already walk around Pope's Pond. It needs to be improved. It is being improved. We're going to have a footbridge allowing total circumnavigation of the pond.
Do you know when that's gonna, do you have any update of like when that bridge is gonna get funded? It's been a while, right?
That was one of our first projects.
That was one of our first projects.
I asked John relatively recently, and he did not have a firm date yet.
That'll have to be one of our agenda items, because
In
we've
the
got a lot
future.
of
Yep.
projects
Yep.
kind of dragging.
Exactly.
So if you look at the segments, the two large ones that need to be constructed in order to, for us to have a 3-mile identified amenity, a walk alongside as close as possible to Pine Tree Brook. The two segments are number 1 and number 2. Number 1 runs really from the Neponset River, but as far as the trail is concerned, it's Brook, I always get the Brook, Brookside.
Brookside.
Thank you. Brookside Park, which is, you may be familiar with, it's a short street that's sort of divided with an island in the middle. And Steve Ivis, of the Conservation Commission, the conservation agent, Michael and I walked that route earlier this year from Brookside Park to School Street. And we had to kind of bushwhack. Somebody had already put ribbons up. They were, I don't know what they were doing, but somebody had been there identifying that. Steve didn't know who did that, but anyway, we walked through it. But the segment that offers us the greatest opportunity right now is segment 2, which runs from School Street, where Herrick Street comes into School Street, to Glover School. It is, I think, all town-owned land, either by the Conservation Commission or the schools. And we're proposing, it may be
It's
expensive.
also a beautiful section.
Yes,
Not that the whole thing is not beautiful, but that's, yeah.
we are proposing to probably put a boardwalk of some sort. There are different styles of boardwalks, but a boardwalk on that stretch, which would allow an amazing full 3/4 of a mile accessible trail from Turner's Pond parking lot on Central Avenue for people who have limited mobility, who use wheelchairs or other devices, to make their way through nature alongside Turner's Pond, the little squiggle around the exit of Turner's Pond to Glover School. And then on this proposed segment 2, all the way to School Street. So I think would be one of the best features of this town amenity to have a large stretch of it be accessible to people who use wheelchairs or a similar kind of motorized accessibility vehicles, which I've looked into. A couple of French companies that build special motorized accessibility vehicles, for which I'd like to get a grant, but that's later. So I'm trying to think. So you probably have
So the
questions.
same ADA accessibility as the.
Or
as the-
ABA.
So as the Glover, as the Turner's Pond path.
So I understand, and
As-
you folks know better than I do, a
Pete
lot of
would know.
landscape architects around here.
Yeah.
There's the ABA standards, which are less stringent, but also, I think, acceptable in certain circumstances for outdoor.
I mean, I remember years ago, and I think it's been maintained, right? Turner's was improved. There was a big campaign, I remember in town, that Turner's was improved to allow a more accessible path.
Mhm.
And certainly one of the more accessible path, compared to Pope's, for instance.
Exactly.
Turner's is a lot more accessible. Than that.
Exactly, and we'd love to make Pope's more accessible
Yep,
as well,
yep,
for sure,
yep,
and we want to work on that.
Yep.
Now, as Rob mentioned, it's the only proposal that has supplemental funding. We realize that there'll be a lot of funding that needs to be raised, and we had some initial ideas at the bottom section of this handout. And we're definitely willing to go after that. And I'm on the precipice of contacting 60 people who've indicated support for the feasibility study earlier on. Just drafting an email to those folks today to form something that I should have done earlier as a core committee to work with people who have their own expertise, so they can help figure out how to do these next steps with me.
One big thing here.
Yeah.
Just so you're aware of it, and I've been aware of it because we're doing this recreational master plan. We gotta push the open space and recreation committee in town because it's still open. It's been over like 2 years now. And
3 at least.
has it been at least 3? So we're not even eligible for park grants until we get that in. Until we get that report finalized, that report needs to be updated and finalized. So I'm trying to push on my end, I think I wrote to
Can
the
I help
planning board.
push?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you, because I think we just gotta we gotta push to get
Well,
that
it's the
thing done.
consultant that's not
you
producing
have a-
and nobody's.
Sorry, do you have a consultant?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, we do,
Okay.
yeah, it's, do we know?
Usually what-
Yeah, Horsley Witten is doing the work for it, but, and I spoke to them probably, it must have been like a year and a half or 2 years ago. And I don't know, it's fallen to the wayside, but we really should get it done, because,
I was on it when I was on the planning board back,
Right.
and that's the last time they did any meetings.
right. I think we all just like need to be talking more together, because like there's, like, we have a recreational plan and Ty and Bond who's on doing this. You're here, right? And like, that is the one piece probably that ties everything together to like look at all the parcels in town.
One thing I'll
So-
say.
Be part of that effort in any way.
Yeah.
Because this responds to open space and recreation.
So I'll just note that there was, the planning department had 0 people in it
Right.
until recently. And that work was under the planning department. And Tim Zerwinski, as the director, left nearly a year ago. His replacement started about a week or 2 ago. And they are interviewing to fill the assistant director position. And as we know, there's still no clerk position. So there are things like this plan, but an economic development plan and other things that have been stalled out as the staffing needs to get back up. So I will just say that, because I serve on boards and committees that have been lacking staff support, and it's impacted committee work, it's impacted a lot of work.
Everything.
So I just want to make people aware of that.
So VHB, in the person of Michael and his colleagues, have given us a proposal for work they would do to do planning and design and suggestions for
That's for that.
segment 2.
That's for that 3/4. The 3/4 of a mile.
Well, the 3/4 would be the Glover School to School Street plus around Turner's Pond. That would be an
Okay,
almost continuous stretch of 3/4 in total. And the trail itself is approximately 3 miles in total from
Okay.
Pope's Pond or Uland Skating Rink potentially
Yeah.
To the Ponset River.
So what did you mean when you said Turner's Pond?
Sorry?
You said Turner's Pond?
That's section 3.
Yeah, so Turner's Pond has already been improved, except
Correct.
from the parking lot on Central
I
Ave.
thought you were saying they were gonna be doing work there.
No, no, I
Work
think he was trying to say
You're
that that's the
connected to
whole.
it.
They're just
it's the
connecting.
length.
Connects to the
Connect to
Turner's
it,
Pond
and
Trail.
just, yeah, so what this work, represents, and we have a scope there, is really getting something that's lining it up for a Mass Trails grant. And we do this a lot, and this is sort of, we know the level that needs to get there. I mean, ideally, we would go out there, have survey, flagging, geotech, and just design it, to a higher level, but, for what Jeff is asking, we can get enough to satisfy sort of a 10% level of design, which again is what is a threshold for.
do we know who, like, I'm just curious, maybe Pete, like, who maintains these trails? Cause to your point, like, I always go on that, on like that trail as well. And it was
Which part?
on the one,
There's
on
not
the
a
Pine
trail
Tree
where we
Brook, on the Pine Tree Brook.
The segment 2, there is no trail now.
No,
You're talking about between
Between-
Thatcher and
Yeah.
Hope's Pond.
And
You know,
Parkway.
Mills Parkway?
Yeah,
Who
I don't think
maintains
any,
that?
well, maybe the parks,
There's really any
DPW,
maintenance
DPW.
there.
someone definitely came back there and did a bunch of work,
Oh, yeah,
because
no,
to
they-
your point, like, it was like
Sometimes
grown
some of
in,
the
you couldn't
neighbors
even,
get out there,
maybe the neighbors get out.
between Blue Hill Parkway and Thatcher Street, some of the neighbors get out there and do some
They do
cutting
some
just to
work.
make it so they
But
can
the
use
town
it.
does some work at times, maybe prodded by the
Yeah.
neighbors. to
Well, there
do
was
it.
there was extensive drainage work done, 15 years ago? The
Yeah.
the drainage work, that was a big town project.
Yep,
I don't know who,
Right, and they put the
You're saying
retaining,
this
the
section,
retaining.
this is all town-owned land already.
Yeah.
That's
right.
This one.
This
So
is part
there's
of
a
what
sign
went
that
into
says
conservation as part of the land swap.
No, the segment
Some of
2.
it is.
Yeah,
the
that's
land
Conservation
segment
Commission.
two
It's on Herrick,
already-
right?
it had been privately owned and
Two of the-
evolved,
Two
that's the right word,
parcels
to
on
the
here.
town.
Yeah.
If that ever happened.
And it was considered sort of undevelopable
Yeah, right.
for housing.
This town,
Because some of the other sections, I think there's sort of a more concern that some private properties.
Segment one, yeah, the long backyards of 3 or 4 Canton Avenue homes go all the way down to the brook, so we're gonna have to figure that out.
So
But-
this part doesn't have that situation.
Exactly.
But you do have the homeowners on Herrick Drive. Have you had any conversations with them?
No, but this probably wouldn't, I wanna put these words out, I don't think it would impact them.
Don't say
Or
that.
is to say
Famous
that-
last words.
Famous last words. No,
I don't think it's on their property, put it that way.
it's not on their property, but it is definitely,
And it's across
It
the
took-
road. It's
it
on the
took
cross,
20
it's the other
years
side of the road,
For
but
DCR to get the Deposit Greenway because of opposition to the backyards at Capon Street.
Yeah, I was part of that fight too.
So, it's, neighbors are worried about people walking in their backyard.
and even for the Concom to approve this, how difficult would that be? I mean, this is conservation land of the town of Milton, so
Yeah, I
who
mean,
has to
Put a
approve that? What would be the
boardwalk.
layers?
But they're already looking, I mean, it's the same situation that we're doing on the
For the
Hudson
other
River,
path.
on the path, that Arthur Doyle's.
Right.
That's, that's got the
Right.
same sort of situation.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
And this, if it's a
So let me
boardwalk
just ask
supported on files, then it's.
But I'm just curious
much
what the
less
process
impact.
is. Who has to approve? What are the layers?
I think of like the
Concom.
boardwalk that they did out by Ponkapog, or at Houghton Pond rather, sorry. That little, by the playground, there's like, it's really interesting for
Small.
kids too. So
The
you
boardwalk in
you
back
mentioned
there.
people who have physical impairments, but the kids, if the families are walking with their kids from Turner on this boardwalk, it's a nature opportunity, a real learning opportunity for the kids
behind the
building.
building there, yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
I mean, if
Oh,
they
yeah,
can
yeah.
walk through here
They've
too.
got all the
Yeah, yeah,
interpretive
yeah, yeah.
signage
Yeah.
up there and
Yeah.
overlooking Marigold
That's,
North.
that's a key part of the Milton Brookwalk proposals, the educational signage, for which we will engage Milton Public Schools, teachers, science teachers, students for seasonal flora and fauna signs, so.
It's one thing like, at least when my kids were younger, I remember like the boardwalk where you feel like you're a little bit more part of it is different than when you're walking a path around a pond.
Right.
So I do think it's a nice companion to Turner's Pond, as you're saying,
Yeah.
like to add that as a boardwalk along the brook. So,
One question I had is just I've walked that area myself and most of that stretch, my memory, the homes are on the other side of the street as to where the boardwalk
Mhm.
would be, right?
Yes.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
And then-
there's only one
so-
on that side of the
Across the
street.
street.
So help me, as the boardwalk or the trail would get closer to Glover or closer to Turner's, does it get closer to the homes at
wanna see
the
the
end of
picture?
Herrick?
Closer, but not close.
There's a couple homes
yeah,
back there.
There's
Yeah.
these
There,
guys.
okay, there it is.
Two homes
Okay.
at the end
Mike
there on that
Roberts
side.
lives there and.
Yeah, and the,
Yeah, I think we can stay far enough away.
on the north is sort of the trickiest design, but I think you can stay on that side of the road and come right up at the top there. Maybe you need a new crosswalk, at the top.
I think this would be very difficult. I mean, I agree, it's the place to
Well,
start,
these are
given
that's all kinds of-
access issues and other questions.
Yeah.
I also agree that, what Jenny is implying, I think with her comments is like, neighborhood, right, you can never take it for granted neighborhood support until you talk to them, and so that's gonna be part of this, I think, but it is helpful that it's town owned.
It makes me think that, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right, go ahead.
Well, it makes me think like, if this is the most difficult part, why wouldn't you flip it and do the easiest part first and then
This
you
is
have
the easiest
momentum?
part.
This is the
This is
easiest
the
one.
easiest part.
Yeah.
Except funding.
This is the
Except
easiest
funding.
part because it's town-owned land,
Well,
and it's the
how
biggest return for effort. Yes, money involved, but if we can make this stretch, it's the prize, it's sort of the prize segment in a sense of putting it all together.
Yeah.
It's one of the two. The segment one also is a key segment.
But a 3/4 mile long boardwalk, do you have any concept of a cost?
What that
Yeah,
costs.
I mean, this-
3.4, that would be
2 to 300.
that would be 0.3.5 or 0.4.
This is 1,700 linear, the boardwalk, right, this one. This
Okay,
piece
so what does that translate to?
In
Miles?
miles. It's
Yeah.
like,
A third, a fourth?
Yeah,
It's probably a fourth,
Third of a mile.
third, fourth.
Okay. So there's that from the Glover School driveway, which is sort of to the right of the. And then there's a stretch around getting to Turner's Pond. You have to go kind of around, maybe on the sidewalk, but there's a grassy area that is also town or school owned on the other side of the front of Glover School.
But you can.
And then you, then
But
it's a
this
little
project
bit,
You
is
still get it,
just
'cause it's right here, right?
boardwalk section from Glover to,
yes,
it's not
from the
going
Glover drive, only from the Glover driveway
Yeah, you
to
can
School
do
School
it.
Street. And that's,
or Herrick School.
Eric Drive.
And I will.
and
Now I
I'll just, because
Now
I
I'll
go
look.
to a lot of
No,
meetings
no,
with
you can't.
abutters who aren't
That's why
happy
they
about
need
the
the
board
boardwalk.
aspect, so I'm very
So it's
familiar
only
with it.
from,
So I'm working on a lot of trails, rail trails and things. And there is also a flip side. There are people who all of a sudden, they have a rail trail in their backyard where there was abandoned rail line, and all of a sudden their property value goes up. And then they also have a different attitude about it because
once it's built,
it's a
they like
valuable,
it.
like
they like
the
it, of
Minuteman,
course.
Once
the
it's
Minuteman
built, yeah.
Trail in Lexington was classic when that first went up. All the businesses put up fences, and all of a sudden, they're like, hey, we can sell stuff out our back doors.
Oh,
And so there is another side to it. I mean, this is a little different condition. The houses are farther away, but you know, it's maybe not a complete negative if you're a neighbor, that you actually have this nice place to
Like
go
it's an
walk.
amenity.
Right, you go
An
out and take
amenity
a
for them,
walk
yeah,
instead of
yeah.
going down the street and
Yeah.
not, if you live
Yeah.
there, you don't have a
I
connection.
always like it
It
once
gets
it's
nice.
done,
Yeah,
but they have fear before it
it
gets.
doesn't have to be, but we,
Trails.
Yeah.
yeah,
Lots of
Everybody's
places.
points are valid here. And
Yeah.
I do a lot of bike riding on rail trails all around
Yeah.
eastern New
that
England,
light
I
back
should
fast
say.
long.
And it's amazing, sometimes you're right by people's backyards, it's like post and rail fences, there's their backyard, beautiful homes. And everything's calm and beautiful, and, you know, they have a nice amenity, and it's, so, but I can also understand that people initially, you know, who's gonna be coming, you know, next to my backyard?
Well, that's what they said about the Neponset when that was first going in, was that everybody was gonna come over from Mattapan and steal your big screen TV. It was a huge, huge.
Ponset River Trail extension, the Ponset Greenway extension is like
It's
the
unbelievable.
best thing ever
It
built.
is the best, I love it.
It's
It's my,
amazing.
one of my favorite places.
But, yeah.
Need the new
Okay.
Any other questions?
Sorry.
Any other questions, just so we can wrap up?
I think it's important, what you said, that this would get you to a level to qualify or
Yep.
apply for grants,
Yeah.
which was something that I think,
and we would have like really detailed cost information, for instance, and different options for the construction of the boardwalks and things like that. That's what the larger
That's what-
grants
yeah.
wanna see. They're like, is this,
Right.
is this real?
And just one question, Jeff, when did you present to the select board? Or it says report endorsement by the town, is that happened or is that
No,
next
no.
steps?
Let's see. I don't know if anybody from the select board was present at our, Nick Milano's been present, our town administrator, and Tim Suzinski, and other departments were represented, Parks and Rec, so, and PW.
Yeah, I know from the first, we started the process with your previous planning department, and then by the time, it's less than a year, all of a sudden, there was a whole new bunch of staff, which was just, I think it was good, but it took a while, since it was almost like two different groups there.
I mean, the first bullet point I just, under next step was a report endorsement by town of Milton Select Board. And I, if that hasn't happened yet, I think I would just, given the nature of this discussion, I'm personally very enthused about your selection of this section. I do think it has, like any section would have challenges. This one comes with some challenges, but getting the select board both initially aware and to hopefully supportive eventually will help with, won't eliminate any challenges, but it will help with some of those
Absolutely,
challenges.
yeah. So do you think just approaching them to get on their agenda?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. I would think that would be a good thing. And just.
So what chair right now, is it Ben or?
Ben Zoll. Yeah. So, all right, thank you for both, for this idea. We knew when we funded the first report, it was gonna, this would be a long-term effort to do this, and it was a big idea from the beginning. But this is exciting that.
Tom,
we're-
just one other
Yeah,
question.
yeah,
As of just the latest spending of funding, it shows that you still have $20,150 that hasn't been spent.
I don't know what you're referring to there.
Okay.
We were paying.
You're paid, so you.
He's like, news to me.
We had to follow up.
Invoices in the mail tomorrow.
I think it was all
We just went
expended.
over that, so.
I think we.
Okay.
Spent what
What's
we
the
were
date
doing.
on this
I
one?
mean, we were paid
It's
recently,
July,
so I don't know if
6:30.
the accounting hasn't caught up.
Yeah, it's
That's
possible.
possible that
From
might-
June.
Yeah, we were paid,
within the last month or month and a half?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
less than a
Yeah,
month, so.
last few
probably-
weeks.
All right, so
All right,
that
so
makes,
I don't
that
have
makes
most
sense. We don't have real-time
I can
reporting.
just do
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
For
much.
your work on this, it's great. All right, that is the end of our agenda for tonight, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.